welcome to this week's episode of FIA Pure Motorsport. In this week's episode, we'll travel to Bella Italia for a great high-speed classic. We'll introduce you to two of the world's best drift drivers, take a closer look at the start of the new Autocross season, and much, much more from the FIA world of motorsport. Ascoli Piceno, a typical Italian region 30 kilometers away from the Italian East Coast. The fourth stop of the FIA European Hill Climb Championship is a great one. It's the 60th anniversary of the Coppa Paolino Todori, and like always, the Italian high-speed classic in Ascoli provides a top-class hill climb festival with an extremely high-quality field of starters, ensuring exciting races on the 5-kilometer-long track. In the closed cars category, the fight for the places on the podium is a tough one. Several times, new track records have been set. Luca Gaetani enjoying a great weekend in his Ferrari 488 Challenge. After two great races, he finishes in third place. Dubai from Poland has a great season so far, but it's his first time on this demanding route in Italy. Nevertheless, he shows he's actually in great form. His Mitsubishi Lancer is, with a performance factor of 42, a Group 2 car, but Dubai is so fast that he finishes the race with the second best time of all the Category 1 cars. As within Portugal and Spain earlier in the season, Switzerland's Ronnie Bracci dominates Category 1. With his Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 7 RS, he puts in an impressive performance and takes the overall victory at the end of the weekend. In addition, he's able to set a new track record in Race 2. He's the first touring car driver to break the 2.27 minute mark in Ascoli. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Yesterday I had two good practice runs and was able to work out a good setup. Today, 2 times I set the new record and could find the answer for the great times of the two Italian drivers. Another victory for Ronnie Bracci. Dubai with another second place and Luca Gaetani in third. Not only the Italian fans were waiting for the big duel of the two top favorites in Ascoli. Christian Merli against Simone Fagioli. The two Italians have given each other nothing so far this season. In the first 3 races, they were separated by no more than a few hundredths of a second. Two drivers who like each other and are in their own league. It's a league where any slightest deviation from the ideal line costs the victory. We have to say it like this: the best of the rest is Italian Domenico Cubeda in his Osella FA30. The 48-year-old from Catania achieves the third fastest time in both races, taking a very good third place in the European overall classification. But his gap to the top 2 drivers is over 11 seconds after 2 races. Nevertheless, a great achievement for Domenico Cubeda, who is mainly present in the Italian championships. After 5,031 meters of the first race, Simone Fagioli is just 216 thousandths of a second behind Merli. Another very close duel between the two Italians. In the second race, Fagioli with a great showing in the slower first half of the course and then with a great amount of speed in the second half. The Italian with a new course record that is an insane 2 seconds faster than the old one. He takes the lead, but Merli is the last driver of the day. A great challenge for the 48-year-old. He needs to improve his very fast time of the first race for an overall win. But this time, it's not quite enough. Although he has an average speed of over 144 kilometers per hour, he can't beat Simone Fagioli. That was a fantastic race. The duel with Merli was incredible. In the first run, he was just ahead of us, but I'm very happy because it was an important race, and the victory here was also important for the European Championships, so I'm very happy. This time, the victory in the duel of the giants goes to Simone Fagioli. Christian Merli just 0.6 of a second behind him. Domenica Cubeda completes the all-Italian podium. The FIA European Hill Climb Championships is home to a great spectrum of cars. There are different engines, tires, aerodynamics, drivetrains, and chassis. That made the classification system so difficult to administer for the FIA. The result? Many different groups, classes, and winners on one race weekend. 5 years ago, Gordon Forbes came up with a different way of classifying cars compared to the traditional method of using engine displacement.
I came up with the concept of using a numerical method of classifying the cars, and I wrote the basic algorithm, and then obviously I've been supported by specialists who made the algorithm more relevant for things like calculating a factor for engine performance.
Gordon Forbes has been working since 1994 with FIA, and his experience and background as a mechanical engineer helped him to invent and develop the performance factor.
The performance factor is an equation that uses 5 factors. There's the weight of the car, which includes the driver and the fuel. Then there's a factor that deals with the engine performance, a factor that deals with the aerodynamics, a factor that deals with the drivetrain, and a factor that deals with the chassis of the car. And each of those factors, we ask for a series of data from the competitor that they enter into the website. The FIA has created a website, a performance factor website, and it's on there that the calculation is done for the competitor.
The result of this calculation is a number, the performance factor of the car, which then is sorted into one of 5 groups, from the higher performing cars in Group 1 to the lowest performing cars in Group 5. The FIA scrutineers on site can take the data that the competitors entered and check the car against that data, a revolutionary system that works.
We've compared it to historic races using the old classification system, and the cars tend to be very similar and the results are similar. So we're happy that the system is accurate compared to what it was previously.
And the next big task is already in store for Gordon Forbes, to find the right algorithm for the integration of the competition cars into the new system. The famous Pro Kart circuit in Wackersdorf is the perfect setting for the return of the FIA Karting Academy. For the 12th year, the Academy Trophy brings together young racers from 48 nations from 6 continents. Formula One racers George Russell, Esteban Ocon, and Charles Leclerc all came from this class. So, with equal karts, new faces, and a fair playing field, it's the perfect proving ground. At the start, Rino Francote holds his advantage into turn 1 as Bart Harrison loses out to Salim Hanna through the flat-out right-hander. As the pack sweeps into the hairpin, trouble begins. Tyler Jean Robinson spins her kart out of the race on the spot, while the rest of the pack swarms up to the next tight left-hand hairpin. In the braking zone, Noah Monteiro, Tom Breken, Oscar Wurz, Lukas Fluxa, and Mark Dubnitsky are wiped out in an instant. Several others run off the road to avoid the incident, but the famous 5 are left to help clear the wreckage. The marshals react rapidly to the crash, which means the race can continue. Further around the lap, Bart Harrison and David Walter leave Luca Neuenschwander with nowhere to go, but it would be Walter who suffers the damage. Frankot manages to retake the lead while Ivan David with the green helmet is pushing Gaffrar with number 501. It doesn't take long for David to spot his moment as he storms up to fourth on the inside in the left-hand hairpin at turn 9. Behind the top 5, number 502 Bart Harrison tries to fend off Darius Babayawana, but the Romanian is determined and makes his move for 6th place. Leo Robinson with the orange helmet has caught Zelenko by this point, and with support from Ricardo Ianiello, he's able to make his move into turn 2. He tries to leave no room for Zelenko, but the Croatian isn't intimidated and returns back on track ahead of the Algerian. Robinson isn't done, however, and round the outside he keeps his speed to claim the position. Zelenko is taken by surprise, and so Ianiello, number 504, is able to pounce on him as well. The duel between number 521 Leitinen and number 517 Gladish continues as the Finn outsmarts the pole out of turn 9 and makes the move for position to stick. It won't last long, however, as the Finn has allowed Gladish back through at the flat-out first bend. The shift in momentum then gives Max Schleimer with the blue helmet and Leo Robinson with the orange helmet the chance to make their own way through as the Finn fights so hard to gain a position that he actually loses 3. Robinson can't quite step up the attack on Schleimer and has to wait for another chance. Hanna enters the last lap hoping for one more chance to catch the leader, while Jaakko Leitinen has an incident in the closing stages and joins his colleagues at the marshal's post. Not many people predicted a win for Frankot at the start of the weekend, and even on Saturday evening he was looking like a contender but not necessarily the favorite. But he clinches his first major victory in Europe and a fantastic win at Wackersdorf to boot to kickstart his FIA Karting Academy Trophy bid in fine style. The first FIA Karting Academy Trophy podium of the season is an international one, with Rino Frankot from the Netherlands, Salim Hanna from Colombia, and Dion Govda from Singapore. The perfect start into the new season. Also, the fastest karting category, KZ, started into their new season with a thrilling final in Wackersdorf. French driver Emilien Denard dominated the weekend and had the pole position for the final, but Italian Riccardo Longhi got off to a perfect start while Denard fell back to 4th place. Denard started to race to catch up, overtook several drivers, and closed the gap to the Italian in the last laps. After several 2nd and 3rd place finishes, Longhi manages to keep a sufficient margin to win under the checkered flag. Emilien Denard finishes in 2nd place, and Italian Alex Irlando secured the last spot on the podium in 3rd. The FIA European Autocross Championship season kicked off at the Bauskas Musa circuit in Latvia. After a 1-year break, the strongest drivers from various European countries returned to the legendary track and showed some great racing under perfect conditions. In the Super Buggy competition, a great duel developed between Frenchman Florent Tafani in his white and orange Alfa Racing buggy and the Czech driver Jakub Kubizek in his white and blue Hosek Visek Zoomer. No other driver could match the pace of the two leaders. In the end, Tafani was able to pull away from Kubizek and celebrated his first win in the first race of the new season. Jakub Kubizek finishes in 2nd place, while local hero Janis Box came in 3rd.
Today we did a good job with the team and me. We had many performances on the track. The car was perfect, and we get this victory. I'm so happy.
The 54th Másik Rally in Hungary was a great host event for the 3rd round of the 2021 FIA European Historic Rally Championship. 21 cars from 11 nations around Europe entered the event and were challenged on day 1 by thunderstorms and heavy rain that made the conditions tricky for the competitors on the forest roads. The number 3 Audi Quattro of Zippo coped best with the circumstances and got the overnight lead. The sun was out again the next day and the drivers showed their skills. Sanremo Rally Storico winner Lucio Desanche in the Rapid Porsche Carrera RSSC had a great day and finished in 3rd place. Austrian Karl Wagner and Gerd Zauner challenged the leader but had to settle again for 2nd place. Even a broken gear shift during the 3rd stage couldn't stop Zippo. The Italian and his co-pilot Dennis Piceno held on to their lead and claimed their 2nd overall EHRC victory of the season. In our last episode, we showed you how basic judging in drifting works. Drivers have to hit different zones, and they're getting points for style, angle, commitment, and line. The perfect run scores 100 points, but the most important part of the competition is the battles.
And that's when it goes to 2 cars on track at the same time. You have the lead car, which is the car who qualified higher. He does his lead run. His goal is to get all the clipping points and run as close to a 100-point run as possible. And the chase car's job is to mirror the lead car.
And the chaser is having the lead car as a moving clipping point, and he's trying to be as close as possible. He needs to be mimicking his angle, his line. He needs to be synchronized with his transitions and so on.
And for me personally, what excites me the most is probably chasing, because you need to be very aggressive. You don't know what to expect because the lead driver can maybe make a mistake. You know, you're running very close to them, so if they slow down a bit too much when you're not expecting, very easy to make contact. Or we're also chasing at very high speeds, so you have the tire smoke in front of your car. So visibility is a huge issue, and you have to take a lot of chances and take some risks in order to move on.
To minimize the risk, the drivers have spotters who scout their opponents.
Every driver has a slightly different style, so a good way of trying to adapt is have a good spotter, so that your spotter will be watching everyone during practice. He learns the techniques of the other drivers, and basically he's like your eyes in the sky. So he'll tell you if he's slowing in a certain area, how his initiation style is, and then from that you kind of have to learn and have trust in your spotter.
A battle consists of 2 runs so that each driver is leader and chaser once. Then the judges decide who wins and proceeds 1 round. David Callas is a judge and a member of the FIA Drift Commission. David explains what the judges look for during the battles.
Drivers are coming to our initiation points. After initiation, you saw that the lead car did a little bit of wobble, which is small deduction, and we are not taking in consideration mistakes which are done by the chaser because of that bubble. And here it's nicely visible that the chaser used that advantage of inner line to go closer and show good proximity. It was a very nice synchronization of the transition. Synchronization means if the transition of the chaser is synchronized with the leader. Leader is running nice and deep in outer zone 2, but chaser is using inner line to get better proximity and stay in that proximity zone. Again, nice synchronization and small bubble from the chaser. Here we are having outside zone 3, where the leader definitely can be way more deeper in the zone, so he's like really on the edge of the zone. And the chaser is having the same line. So he used that advantage to get closer, and he's now having good proximity.
Drifting, not only a great challenge for the drivers, but also for the judges. The FIA Intercontinental Drifting Cup is the top event in the world for the best drift drivers. And the top driver right now is Irishman James Dean. The 29-year-old started with drifting when he was just 10 years old and entered his first pro competition at 15.
Back then, I had my dream, you know, and my dream was to compete at the highest level in the world. And I feel like I achieved that dream like a number of times now, because I was competing in Formula Drift in the USA, which was like, it's one of the highest level drift championships in the world, and we won that championship in 2017, 18 and 19, which was amazing. I've been competing in European drifting competitions for many years, and we have a lot of European titles, Irish titles. We won a championship in the Middle East 3 years in a row. So I've enjoyed success all over the world, and definitely had a lot more success than I expected.
But the multiple Formula Drift and Drift Masters champion is challenged by a 16-year-old, Nicolas Bertrands from Latvia.
Nicolas is knick-knack. He is an amazing driver. He's been driving for a long time. I think his first time drifting, he was 9 years old. So he has already a lot of experience, and he's a real good talent. He might be young, but he has an older mind, so his experience is cool. And to be honest, obviously when I was his age, drifting was at a different level, but he reminds me of myself when I was younger.
That's honest and mutual respect between these two ambitious drivers.
And I've always looked at him and learned from him. So basically maybe I can see myself learning from him a lot, and he could be my teacher one day, maybe. He could give some advice, who knows. But yeah, most of the parts, left foot braking, driving tracks, and everything I have learned from him.
And the youngster has learned a lot from James. In his first appearance at the FIA Intercontinental Drifting Cup, the 16-year-old Latvian really makes it to the final. And the challenge couldn't be bigger. 2 runs against the big favorite, one of the world's best drift drivers, James Dean. In the end, it's teacher against pupil, James Dean against Nicolas Bertrands. 2 drivers, 2 exceptional talents of their generation. The dream final for the FIA Intercontinental Drifting Cup 2021. James Dean had the better qualifying position, so he starts the first of 2 final runs as the leader. Bertrands will chase him. There's the green light, and James Dean takes the lead. Now the initialization of the drift. James is missing the last part of the outer zone. Knick-knack stays close, right beside him. Next is the outer zone 3. Very nice from James this time, and Bertrands is perfectly mirroring him. He is really close. But then he stops. After such a great run, Bertrands has problems. James Dean is finishing his run with a nice wall ride. After a really good start into the first run, the young Latvian had a technical issue.
Not the result I wanted, because the car broke down a little bit, but we got it fixed and we did run the second run.
This time, Nicolas Bertrands will be out front and Dean will chase him. The Irishman can play it safe. He has a comfortable lead. So he keeps his distance. Now moving in a little bit closer. A really fluid and nice run. James is on his side. The last corner, the last wall ride of the final, a really close battle. And it's a wrap. In the second run, Nicolas Bertrands showed what he's capable of. The 16-year-old can challenge the best drivers in the world.
We battled with great drivers, and in the final I even got to battle James Dean, which is just amazing. James, watch out, next time I will get you.
I am so happy. We worked hard for this. It was a very challenging event, from all the weather conditions changing, some very difficult battles, best drivers from all over, and we come out on top.
James Dean with his first win at the FIA Intercontinental Drifting Cup, cementing his status as the world's #1. Nicolas Bertrands with a great second place finish, and Ukrainian Max Miller also on the podium in third. That's it for today. On the next episode of FIA Pure Motorsport, we'll be in Zandvoort for the third stop of the ADAC F4 German Championship. We'll take a closer look at the special requirements that hill climb tires have to meet, and have all the important information from the second stop of the FIA European Autocross Championship. Till next time, take care everybody, and ciao.